Good morning. It is just about 5 a.m. Welcome back to Hills and Valleys Homestead, day 2 of the Pacific Northwest, Western Washington heatwave. So yesterday we were supposed to get to 96 or 97, our high on our temperature gauge, which starts getting shade at about 2:30 or 3 from these phenomenal trees in our neighbor's yard. Read 104 with a feels like temperature at 103. The top feels like temperature was 123 degrees Fahrenheit, and we sat at 102 degrees, feels like 116 for probably 5 hours. And our air conditioning started to fail at that point. So we don't have central AC. We have 2 small units that technically would be rated to cool less than half of our house at 90 degrees. So, I mean, they probably did better than they were supposed to. Not COVID, allergies. Anyway, so we learned a lot yesterday about where heat comes into our house and what we need to do for the animals. This heat was very different than the heat that we experienced in Otis Orchards. It is very humid. It is now 65 degrees and 99% humidity. It's just sticky. It was much more Houston and a lot less kind of Eastern Washington yesterday. But when we were in Houston, we didn't have animals, and we also didn't have the AC problem. We had central AC. So here's what we learned. These big waters don't need to be filled all the way up because the water just gets too hot too fast. And so filling it about halfway, which is what it is now, and coming out every 2 hours and refilling it is the way to go. The ice cube bottles that we made really didn't last long enough to say they did much. So just every 2 hours refilling water was how we did it. As I expected, those metal pads get way too hot. So we sprayed them down when we came out every 2 hours. Good morning, Gandalf. I can already see we have chickens kind of huffing in there. If I let them out now, we tend to get predators this early in the morning, so they're going to have to stick it out just a little bit longer. I think we're going to put a fan in that window later today. We have 3 broody hens that we eventually stuck a box fan at the side of their cage because they were not going to let us take them out. And we didn't really have a place to put them. Where we would have normally put them was the sunroom. Purple basil grew like crazy. I don't think I even need to water it. It's still so damp. Turkeys did pretty well. We have an extra pair of white turkeys that hung out here in the morning, and then in the afternoon we got our really young Spanish turkeys that were growing out soy-free for Thanksgiving out. And as long as we managed their shade well with this top and continued to give them fresh water, and then I would water down under them so that their feet were cold, they stayed pretty happy. This water we moved around all morning and afternoon, just depending on where small groups of chickens found their shade. And for now, it's actually in the right spot. So I think we are moving this into the garage, which actually stayed cooler than the sunroom, and I don't think we have a place for it inside. We'll watch the temperature. We have ducklings that ship Monday, and so I think we're going to move 2 of the Silkies or Chiquita, the molted Bantam Cochin, into here with shavings, obviously, inside, either in the garage or somewhere in the house, so that we can give her those ducklings to rear. Still here. Actually looks a little yellow. Interesting. So we found that the chickens loved the side over here where they could hang out. This, while during the heat of the day was terrible, was where all the chickens came as soon as the sun came off of it, and where chickens that were making their way across the yard, because of course they chose to lay their eggs in the same place they always do, stopped for water. They didn't take the hint on anything that we gave them to lay in the shade. So whatever, they're chickens, they're gonna do what they're gonna do. Sprayed down in the afternoon the concrete because it was just too hot. Button duck doesn't want the pond. The pond is too hot. It actually got so hot we didn't even get to fill the pools because going in and out of the house made it so hot that we were gonna lose even more than we already did. So it is what it is. I'd say maybe today, but we're forecasted to be 101 today. So if we go 7 over, which is closer to what we got to yesterday, if it was forecasted to be 96 or 97, that then puts us at 108 degrees. So, I mean, I'm looking for that feels like picture. Our humidity is even higher, of up over 120 again. So I never thought during a heat wave we wouldn't use pools, but I don't think that that is in the cards. Anyway, so we moved, and by we, I have to say my husband, after I took the kids into the room that we decided was going to be the cool room, moved the feeder that was here. It got hot to the point where it didn't matter if I came out and sprayed it every hour. It was just too hot. So it's over here in the shade, and hopefully that forsythia gives good shade weirdly most of the day, also with that tree. So see how it does. Looks like we have this water. I'm gonna fill it up now. I tried putting misters here. Our chickens, if you don't know, we sold all of our chickens when we moved, except for 6 bantams that I gave to a friend. And so all the chickens we have now were newly hatched. Some at the end of October, others in the spring that are just getting ready to lay. And then we have a tiny hatch of blue layers from Cackle that are just, what are they, 12? They're 15 weeks now. Hopefully they'll start laying some eggs. Anyway, so these chickens didn't like to stand in the cold water the way the chickens in Otis Orchards did, and I don't know why. So we put a mister back in here for a while, and they really didn't hang out with it. Instead, they chose the dust over there. I don't quite understand, as they're usually here, and it was cooler here, but again, chickens. So we'll see what they do today. We'll fill that water probably halfway up again, come out every 2 hours. See how I'm grabbing that hose soon. Looks like some of our leaves got a little sun scalded. These did pretty well. Oh, my husband had some lettuce starts. Our lettuce has been so great for growing. Spinach was not worth it. So we pulled it a long time ago. I don't think I even showed it to you guys. So I don't think, well, maybe we'll put them in the ground today. I don't think that they'll be going in. Once the sun comes up, it'll be 70 degrees. Ooh, looks like my blueberries got too much direct sun. Which is why my husband moved them here. In with the zucchini. Cool. Greenhouse. Let's see. Looks like the raspberries did okay. Nothing did perfectly, but look at the greenhouse. It's tomatoes galore. We have tomatoes that are actually growing. Let's see if I can find some. There were some. Where did they go? Anyway, I don't, we had to have left this closed actually. Ooh, that's a slug. I'll pull that and feed it to the chicken or the ducks here after I'm done recording this for you. Anyway, so I think we kept this closed because otherwise the chickens would have just devoured it and nothing would be left. So tomatoes, tomatoes, tomatoes. Let's see how the corn held. Ooh, wow. Corn actually did well. So this is the peaches and cream corn that we started inside. It is, for when we planted it, running behind, but for the timing of the year, I think we're definitely going to be knee-high by the 4th of July. Possibly higher. Looks like some of our, bummer. I don't know if these were pumpkins or beans. They got burned. Bummer, bummer. Well, that one back in there is happy. That one back in there is happy. So looks like if it didn't have the shade of the corn, then it got burned. So this was a late idea here. This was the usual candy corn that we grow. We'll see. It doesn't, well, look, maybe one. So yeah, next time we'll just start it when we start this and have corn for a lot longer. Beans, purple beans seems to have stayed alive-ish. Might move that. The thing is, there was no escaping the heat, even if you weren't in the sun, and so you could only do so much. We put the shade cloth will go over it. I'm going to let this get watered first. The pak choi that we're letting bolt so we can have the seeds. Looks like most of the celery weathered it. Lettuce, we'll probably be having that for lunch because there's no way we're going to be cooking. Cabbage seems to still be holding its own. Let's see. What did the tomatoes do? Oop. The peas that are still alive after they were ripped apart by the chickens seem to still be happy. Sugar snap peas. Alright, so here we are, tomatoes, tomatoes, lots more flowers today. Way more flowers. Yay! Oh, come on, Cherokee purple. It's like it tried to flower. I don't know why. I don't know if it was the seed pack or what. Oh, I'm gonna get wet. Here's where the rest of the tomatoes are going to, well, another 4 to 6. Right after we pull this big guy. The problem with these next couple days is that as much as I really want to pull these, I don't have a place to store them where they're going to make it. So they're better attached to their root system for now. There's the lettuce. So probably pick this whole head. This lettuce, I think when it well, it's not going to cool down. We may have one cool day on Wednesday, and then we're going to head back up to the upper 80s, which is still not the happiest lettuce weather, but I think we'll move this lettuce over to the shade where those other pots are. I can pull that and feed it to beansies today because we're done with it. The basil almost tried to grow. Let's see, the yellow zucchini, it didn't die. The pumpkins, and I think maybe we planted a squash there. I don't know. It kind of looks like one. They didn't make it, but looks like that second plant did. Early girls, there it is. There's a tomato. Hope. I feel like this growing season is a little bit of a learning curve, and it's all just hopes and dreams. This is a black crim. We may replace this in a couple days if it doesn't turn into something soon. Peppers are still happy. They look a little yellow. I'll have to look at that up. I don't know if that's nitrogen or just too much sun. But yeah, it it didn't matter if you were going to be in the direct sun because it hovered at 102, feels like 116, once our temperature gauge was in the shade. So, I mean, there was just no escaping it. So, filling waters every 2 hours, watering down those metal feeders, and shade cloth. I don't know that water is going to help. Everything is so damp from the high humidity that I don't know that extra water is going to make a difference now. So, we didn't lose any animals yesterday. Hopefully we don't lose any today. And I will see you tomorrow.